telling myself I gotta get it cause I deserve it. I just needed to give myself some time to surface. At the top, don't be fooled, man, it's all a circus. But you gotta jump through a couple hoops, it'll all be worth it.
Raz realized his passion for music and recording during his time at Western University. He spent the last 10 years dedicating himself to his songwriting and creating a unique sound that represents his experiences, personal growth, and spirituality. After declining offers to pursue a doctorate program, he moved to Germany, where he toured over 3 months while writing with Yusuf Islam, aka Cat Stevens, and collaborating with Issam B of Outlandish. Since returning to Toronto in 2014, Raz has opened for Hasnan Minhaj, Brother Ali, Mo Amer, Sean Hook, and Mustafa the Poet, and released his collaboration with Issam B called My World that garnered international attention, racking up over 140,000 views on YouTube. With a focus on emotion and his message, his music is a mixture of hip-hop and stadium rock. Think Lupe Fiasco meets Imagine Dragons. His recent single, Fireside, is now available on all streaming platforms, and you can check out his music video on YouTube, which has racked up over 18,000 views already. Raz's musical journey started at a very young age. Through family influences, instrumentation, and general curiosity, he was able to gravitate towards different styles that eventually made him who he is today.
If you want to go way back, I started back in like grade 6 or 7 playing trumpet in band. I was a band nerd and I was in jazz band for like grade 7 through grade 11 or 10. And in the meantime, I actually remember, I was playing trumpet, I was playing some drums. My dad was a DJ, so music was always in my house. Records, like vinyl records were always playing and stuff. And I remember as I got into high school, I think it was, one of my older brother's friends actually was rapping, and he was using Fruity Loops to it had just come out, I guess. And he had been using it to produce his own music and to record. And so my brother and his friends, the group of them, would just make songs for jokes and whatever. And along that time, I started jumping on his computer and playing with Fruity Loops and started producing stuff. And I didn't know I was producing, but I was producing stuff, and I started kind of got into it there. And then I just kind of didn't do anything with it, but I started writing more poetry through high school. I realized I really liked literature and poetry, and had always been listening to hip hop, especially hip hop and a lot of alternative rock. So you're talking anything from Lauryn Hill to Talib Kweli to Common to early Kanye, even older, a lot of obviously Biggie and Pac and these kind of guys. So heavy in hip hop, but then also I started in high school as I was writing more, and I realized I really like the emotional aspects that come out of a lot of the rock music at the time. I started going back and listening to a lot of Led Zeppelin and even folk stuff like Bob Dylan, and got heavy into John Mayer. And I think being in the 90s into the 2000s was a great time for music as well. So I was just exposed to a lot.
While studying at Western University in London, Ontario, Raz's interest would pick up during a unique opportunity.
So while I'm writing and I'm starting to write my own stuff, I'm getting all these influences. And then I actually didn't start making music though until my second year in university at Western. There was a couple of guys on campus who had made this song that went kind of viral. And I was friends with one of them, hanging out in his dorm room, and he was like, "Oh, we're making this new song. We're supposed to open for Joel Santana at this bar near the university." And they had that one song that had gone viral. So when Joel's, I guess, was coming to London, the local booking agent or whatever had booked these guys to do that one song, but he's like, "You need to fill 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So they were working on another song, and I was in the room, and one of the guys was like, "Oh, Raz, you write a little bit, don't you? You should get on the mic." And I was like, "Sure, whatever." And I think it was actually, the Millie beat from back in the day, Lil Wayne. They had put that on, and they were working on something on that. and I like, wrote something and I recorded on the mic and I just left. Like we just hung out. It was funny. We left, and then I guess about a week later or something, I was back at the residence that we were hanging out at, and a bunch of random people were like, uh, "Oh, I heard your song. Oh, I like it so much. It's so good." And I was like, "What are they?" I genuinely could not remember. I was like, "What are they talking about?" And then I realized that they had kind of finished it, I guess, or like exported it and started playing it in the dorm or whatever. And I started getting a lot of good feedback. And so I guess it was that year around 2010 into 2011 where I really started to be like, oh, you know what? Like I do have this whole background that I briefly just ran through with you guys. I do have this background in music. I kind of know what I'm doing. And I didn't realize I liked to record. And that was the first step, getting that good feedback and realizing that I enjoyed it. Slowly started to take it more seriously. It wasn't like one person or like one artist. It was like I've been getting into like my English class, for instance, more. I realized I really liked literature and I liked the way that people wrote things and the diction and the specific, so like the specific wording and how they could evoke emotion by using one word versus another or the combination of words. And so I had started in high school to really having an amazing English teacher, which I was really blessed to have, just like really opened up my eyes because I had been writing, but it's just like writing on my own, right? And so when I started understanding more of the technicalities or like reading more, even just like Shakespeare or anything we covered in class, I realized, oh, like I actually like the intricacies of writing and communicating through writing. And so my writing got a little bit better. And that was, I think, actually, if I really go back, that was probably my first inspiration. And then I started taking that mentality into the music I was listening to. And so I started, I would say that the biggest influences I had were Lauryn Hill and probably John Mayer for songwriting, because there was something about their writing that uh, I could see them doing all those things I was kind of like learning in class that you like study academically to be like, oh, this is why this emotion is evoked, or this is why this makes you see this or understand it this way. This is why this metaphor is so powerful or whatever. I was like, oh, wait a minute. These guys aren't necessarily academics, but in their music, they're doing all of these things, but they're doing it in a really dope way, like in a cool way. But like not in my high school class, but also they're saying things that related to me and that were helping me understand myself and my life and who I was and trying to find my identity, being like young and Muslim and Canadian and trying to like, I was playing a lot of sports. I was like an athlete, and I was like writing. I was just trying to figure it out, like a lot of us are in high school, right? And so I think when I combined all those things, and the artists I was listening to really heavy at the time, I was like, oh, wait a minute, you can like they're doing this. They're combining all the things that I find fascinating, that I find inspiring, and they're putting it in their music, but it's such a much more accessible way.
When making music, Roz uses his love and admiration for sports to treat his creative process similar to how a pro athlete trains for a big game.
I never had that time, I guess you could say, where I was just making music because I enjoyed it. I was always making it with a specific purpose to get my message out or to enjoy it, but like with a very specific plan behind it. And I think, for instance, one of my friends, when I was like, yeah, I'm going to take music seriously, I'm gonna try to make it happen. His response was, he's like, at the time, J. Cole had just started blowing up. He had dropped his Sideline Story album. He had just got signed to Rock Nation or whatever. And he was like, well, you know, it took J. Cole like 12 years or whatever it was. And he's been rapping since he was like 12 or 13. And I was like, oh, so all you're saying is I got to make up the time in the next 4 years, roughly, that J. Cole did in 10. And he was like, yeah, that's going to be so difficult. And I was like, well, that's what I got to do. That's what I got to do. And obviously, I don't ever think I'm going to be anywhere near as good as J. Cole. But in fact, that was the conversation around me, was like, are you really going to do this? Like, you're way behind. And so for me, I was motivated from the get-go to like take it really seriously and learn and take all that. If I'm supposed to be like intelligent and smart and academic, I was like, then I should be able to translate everything I'm learning in school and the way I learn, using the resources I have at my disposal to make music that's at a higher level than anybody would expect for an amateur artist. So I really drilled myself. I treated it like I treated sports, just reps and reps and reps and reps, trying to play catch up. And I felt like it gave me that edge and that chip on my shoulders to be like, I'm behind. I need to catch up, but I know I'm that good, right? So for a long time, how I heard myself in my head wasn't coming out physically. It wasn't coming out on the mic. But if I could hear it in my head the same way when I was playing sports, if I could see myself doing it, it was just a matter of reps until I actually could do it.
During the pandemic, Roz used this time to get focused and pursue a full feature-length album.
It was interesting. I was planning on starting my debut album at the top of 2021. And so when the first lockdown happened in like March of 2020 or whenever it was, I was already starting to like get the funding together and like figure out what I wanted to do for my album. And I usually disappear a little bit and I write my albums. So it worked out in my favor, I think, because I had released Fireside, my latest single. I had released it just before, I believe, or just after the pandemic kicked off and we were all in lockdown. And I didn't really plan on releasing anything else after that. I planned on working on the album. So I just I guess it kind of helped. It helped me kind of isolate. I'm a homebody anyways, so I was kind of happy to be home and just working on the album. So I guess it helped me focus, really. It helped me focus on the album and kind of lock in on it, knowing that I couldn't even go anywhere. There was no plans to cancel or people to feel bad about canceling with. It was just kind of like, well, I can't go anywhere anyways. I guess the other thing is I just set up my home studio and I was like, all right, I'm just going to bunker down and get it done. And I guess I'm lucky. I still work full time. A lot of people think that I make my music full time, but it's still a grind. I still work full time. So luckily I was able to keep working and just work on my music. So to be honest, which is a huge blessing because I know it's not the same for other people, especially even like my brother runs his own business in the medical field and his clinic shut down, right? For me, I kind of got to keep working and just invest in my album.
This album is slated to come out later this year. If he was to put this in a time capsule and someone discovered it 50 years from now, here's how he would want that person to feel.
I feel like I would want them to take away a sense of like self or consciousness from my music. So as soon as they hear it and they take in what I'm saying and the message I'm trying to evoke and the emotions that everything I write is based on the message I'm trying to say and the emotion I'm trying to say with it. I would hope that they step away with some sort of reflection or sense of self or feel like they're connected to me in some way, no matter what time it was. And that's a great question because I actually write all my music in the hopes that it's classic or timeless, the way that a Lauryn Hill or John Mayer, we still go back to their songs. You might not even realize, but it could be 20, 25 years later and you're still listening to it, right? Same way Bob Dylan, we still revere him and love his writing and multiple other artists. So I would hope that it has that similar effects. That's really the goal with all my music. So.
Buffalo soldiers are holding their breath. Buffalo soldiers are holding their breath. Buffalo. Put the world in my palm. So wrong for so long.